This is Rock the Boat right here today on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. My apologies for getting in here late. I had a major computer lockup, which seems to happen way too often when I go to do the Sunday show. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Check the computer before the show, and the thing's running perfect. And 5 or 10 minutes before the show starts, freaking computer locks up, and got to reboot it and everything. And this time it took a long time to get it rebooted. So I don't know what that's all about or why it happens, but it happens. And there's not a hell of a lot I can do about it, apparently. So we'll carry on from here. I just got to get the browser opened up, if and it will. And I think today is Earth Day, I think. Or today, however way you want to look at it. I mean, these people are still out there freaking how well impregnated the propaganda is. And I really feel bad for these people that are all hooked up on, oh my God, we got to save the planet. Because sooner or later they're going to wake up and their freaking heads are going to explode when they figure out how badly they've been manipulated. They're not going to be happy campers. But then that may be why they're building such a large mental health system in the West. Could be why they've got so many people on drugs in the West. Seems like everybody's on some sort of a drug. And that in itself is not a healthy situation. But they don't want you thinking, at least not clearly. So I guess the easiest way to keep people asleep is to keep them doped up. All these drugs are giving you, I would think that the percentage of them that you should be taking or are really of any benefit to you are quite small. You know, they poison everything that you consume, and then you get illnesses from what you've consumed. You think it's food when it's not. It's not healthy food. You consume it, you get sick. You know, I see doctors almost like cowboys, with a sidearm, with a holster slung low. And because these guys can pull out their prescription pad probably quicker than a sharpshooter can. I mean, these guys are very good at drawing that pen and pad out and writing you a prescription just as fast as they possibly can. And they get money for it, and you get side effects. And then you go back to the doctor and writes you a new prescription for what ails you this time. It's pretty ridiculous. So got a lot to talk about today. I've been very busy this week, and I have had some pretty interesting stuff sent to me. We're going to get to that in a bit. Right now I want to talk a little bit about politics. And I hate politics, but as do so many other people. But it's an animal that is used to screw you over, so to speak. And people don't want to be involved in it, which really doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. Never did, and probably never will. You know, well, why would I want to go and run for something that I hate? Well, so you can change it. And, you know, if you can't get that through your thick skull, you know, everybody's bitching and complaining about politics, political leaders, this, that, and the other thing. And the fact is that they run the show and they write the laws. So if you want to change something, you have to go there, because how the hell are we going to change it if we don't become involved in it? And I have a example out of Calgary, Alberta, which I think should hopefully get through your head what I keep talking about. Hopefully. I'm not convinced it will. It should. But people are so friggin' lazy and really quite pathetic. They like to bitch and complain. They like some hero to come and fix things for them. But they personally don't want to get involved in it. They just want to bitch and complain. And that's not real bright. That's just quite stupid. So, it's something that has to be dealt with. So I'm just going to get a few things opened up here, and then we'll get at this. You see, I have a friend that I talked into running back in 2010. Didn't want to do it. I had to use a little tough love on him. He was 65 at the time. Said that he'd run. He had run in 20 years prior, didn't get in, so he didn't want to be involved in it. He just wanted to relax and be retired and all this kind of stuff. So I finally talked him into running. He ran, and I told him they weren't going to let any of us win. And in the three places that we ran, they had huge vote count problems, which I fully expected, because they want control. They don't want anybody getting control. They don't want anybody in there that might out the nefarious nonsense they're up to. So we ran. We didn't get in. And he was lucky enough to, with a other counselor, be at a golf course or something, and they heard the CAO and one of the counselors talking about stuff that they shouldn't have been up to, and they managed to run them out of town. So 3 years after he ran, he got the empty seat, and he ran in 2014. And people were looking at Carl after his first year as looking at him as kind of like a hero. Now, what he did do was, once people found that there was somebody actually on side, people started going to the council meetings, which they weren't doing before. So that helped them a little bit, but nobody ran in 2014. So Carl is still lone man in the council, with all of the council against him. Last time I talked to him, he was saying, you know, it's getting a little tough because they're going out of their way to try to get him out of there. Very difficult. It's a very difficult position. So here's another story. Now, the Calgary election was last year, and I'm going to read this story because I want you to get this through your thick skulls. You want change, you want to save your nations, but you don't want to participate in anything. Okay, and I hear all the excuses. Oh, politics is crooked. Yeah, it's damn crooked. And these are the crooked people that are writing all the bylaws and upping your taxes and telling what you can and can't do and all the rest of it. And you sit there and bitch and complain about it. But you don't go to where you can cure it. And like I've said so many times in the past, the real power in your nation is not at the federal level. It is not at the provincial state level. It is at the municipal level. Because that's where your feet are. All the people live at the municipal level. That's where you live. Nobody lives at the federal level. Nobody lives at the provincial state level. All the people live at the municipal level. And all this bull crap, all this globalism crap is coming through the Fed, the province state, and then downloaded to the local councils, which all have a city manager or a CAO at the helm. And those people are trained specifically on how to implement the globalist agendas into the local areas. And then they get the people they want in council who will just vote yes on whatever is brought forward by the CAO or the city manager. This is how it operates. So how are you going to change that sitting in a coffee shop bitching and complaining? You're not. We have to get control of the local level, period. End of subject. We can't do that. We're done like dinner. So here's a story, and the headline is, City Council, a lonely place for Jeremy Farkas. Rookie councilor's tactic to grab attention but fall short of making change happen. It's been an eventful couple of weeks for Jeremy, a political newcomer to Calgary City Hall. Let's see, he's been asked to apologize 3 times in council meetings, found to have violated the council code of conduct, which is tape your mouth shut, don't say nothing that is against anything that we're doing. Okay, that's what a breach of the council code is. He's been told that his behavior is unacceptable. This sounds like my friend up north. The same crap's going on to him. He's a lone man, okay, that knows what the hell's going on. But he doesn't have any power because there's only one of them. He's been told that his behavior is unacceptable, insulting, uncalled for, disappointing. Farkas has also heard he is undermining council and discrediting it in the public's eye. Now that's the whole point. But he ain't got a vote. He's got a vote. Now I don't know how many people are on the city council in Calgary, probably 15 or so. So he's the bad guy, when in fact he's a good guy. Now, if you had more good guys, i.e. enough good guys to carry a majority vote, now the good guys have control of the council. Now, it doesn't matter what the hell the CAO or the city manager puts forward at that point, because if you have informed, intelligent, knowledgeable people on the council who know what the hell the city managers and the CAOs are up to, you can roadblock it real quick. But I wouldn't know what to do. I don't want to get involved in that. Why would you want to get involved in that? They're all crooked. And most of the public is stupid. Therein lies the problem. Stupid people have a hard time making positive change. The history books, it says, the history book tells us City Hall has seen its share of firebrand and populists, visionaries and charlatans. Well, yeah, because history books tell us City Hall has seen its share of firebrands, populists, visionaries, and charlatans. That is your city council. That's not Farkas. Okay, it is how the media operates. They're talking about the council, not Farkas. Farkas ain't a firebrand. He ain't a populist. He ain't a visionary. He ain't a charlatan. He's a man who gets it. The council is firebrands, populists, visionaries, and charlatans. But of course, the media is not going to tell you the truth. But successful politicians all have one common characteristic. They find ways to get things done. And on that front, Jeremy Farkas is facing challenges. For him to make change happen at City Hall requires 7 others to vote with him. Okay? And there's only one of him. So he can't make any change. Not now, not ever. Because you got to have the majority vote. Now, how do you go about getting the majority vote? How difficult is it to get the majority vote? Not very damn difficult at all. A little rudimentary math, and you've got the majority vote. Now, Farkas is out there trying to tell the truth. He's being squashed in the City Hall. What he's putting forward is not getting in the newspapers. Okay? He's been isolated. He's been put in an isolation cell called City Hall. Anything he brings forward, the rest of them jump on him. Makes it a very tough game. Now, if we had some more Farkases, we could fix things. Now, Calgary's a city that's just over 1 million people. And there's an awful lot of bitching and complaining going on in Calgary. Mark my words on that one. Just as there's a bunch of bitching and complaining going on all over North America. But ain't nobody stepping up to the plate. You get the odd guy like Farkas who managed to get in. That's amazing in itself. But that shows you that somebody in his neighborhood is getting it. That's why they voted for him. You see, the propaganda shelf life of this globalism is starting to fail. It's the only way he could have possibly got into council. Is someone in his neighborhood's going, you know what? We got to get rid of these charlatans. Because they're going to destroy us. And that is the plan, of course. What's not sustainable? Private automobiles. Private property. Okay? Now, if you're going to have your right to move yourself around in the mode of transportation you desire, i.e. a private vehicle, then you better stand up. If you like the idea of owning private property, and the game is the end of private property, then you might want to consider standing up. Or you're just going to whine and bitch and complain till it's over and you're just living in a corporate domicile, a globalist corporate domicile, which is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Because according to them, what you live in is too big. It's not sustainable. So you got a guy like the Farkas that steps forward. He's busting his ass. He's trying to lift the lid off Pandora's box here. And they're sitting on it hard. So you got 1 million plus people in Calgary. You got, what do you got? So he needs, so it'd be 15 people on council if you need 7 others to get a majority vote. So you got 15 councillors. You got a city of over 1 million people. Now, simple math will fix the problem. They're running candidates for those 15 seats. Then you run 3 times as many. So for every seat, you see, if Farkas goes out and they have a an all candidates meeting or whatever during an election, he's lone man out, because what he's talking about is really foreign to most of the people sitting in the audience. And most of the people sitting in the audience at this are all connected to the council in one way or another, through the business association or through the lawyers association or through the teachers association, through the doctors' associations. Those people are on side with the council. So when a guy like Farkas is sitting there, he's a lone man out by a long shot. So I'm really pleased he got voted in. But I can also understand what he's putting up with. And it's got to be tough going. But he's doing his damnedest to pull the curtain back on the corruption known as City Hall. So you run 3 people for every council seat. So you only need 45 people to run in a city of over 1 million people. And if you can't get 45 people, you should actually be able to get 6 people to run for each seat. No problem in a city that size. Now, what happens when you run all these candidates with the same platform? Well, they overpower the globalist platform, because now you don't have a lone man out there saying what needs to be said. You got 45 or 90, depending, 3 or 6. 90 sounds good to me. How the hell you couldn't get 90 people out of a city of 1 million plus to stand up? You ran 90 people in a municipal election in Calgary, telling people the truth. The truth will rise to the top. You get one poor sucker out there telling the truth, they're going to stomp on him, which apparently they're doing to Jeremy at the council level. So when people say, well, I don't want to get involved, you're an idiot. Well, I just want to bitch and complain and whine at the coffee shop with my friends. You're an idiot. You don't deserve this country. You don't deserve any part of this country because you aren't part of this country. You're just some sack of meat wandering around, brain dead, going out of your way to stay ignorant, and that must take a lot of effort. And we've got to straighten this mess out. So Farkas is critical of backroom meetings, as should everybody be, because there's some very nefarious deals take place there which are not open to the public. Since well before last fall municipal election, Farkas has been railing against what he calls secret meetings held by city council. Now, every city council does it. They're called in camera. Some of those meetings are held in a boardroom he calls the Chamber of Secrets. Well, everything they're doing to you is kept secret from you by the media, by the education system, by the legal system, by the political system, by the religious system. All of this stuff is kept quiet. So you don't know about it, unless, of course, you read something. But most people don't want to read anything. You can kid him about it, after all. He's a counselor who now goes to those closed-door meetings. But he's serious when he says council spends too much time in closed sessions and he has ideas on how to fix that. No one is pushing for more or longer confidential meetings. They are actually required under the Municipal Government Act and the Freedom of Information legislation if certain matters can be discussed. But Farkas thinks there's more than that going on in the boardroom. Farkas says council is sometimes pulled into closed sessions to instill fear, intimidate, and shut down new ideas. Potential allies aren't supportive, it says. The reaction of his colleagues to these accusations is anything but funny, and no one is interested in his ideas because of the way he's framing his discussion. Councillor Jeff Davidson likes Farkas as a new member of council. He said his colleague's strategy isn't working. I think the overall tone of the rhetoric being used in the media, secret lies or secrets, lies, those type of things, it gets to the point of being a little excessive, said Davidson. Yeah, well, you see, truth needs to be excessive. If truth just pokes his nose up once in a blue moon, and gets whacked and it retreats, then you ain't ever getting the truth out. Like Farkas, Davis and Field City Council can be more transparent, but calling things secretive, it just spins things out of control, and it doesn't build any kind of positive rapport with Calgarians. In other words, our propaganda will start to fail if we just tell them the truth. We can't do that. Davis is a conservative-minded counselor, so people like Peter DeMong and Ward, so are people like Peter DeMong and Ward Sutherland. Rather than being potential allies, these counselors are just as alienated by Farkas and his tactics as any of the other council members. Sutherland used an analogy in a recent council meeting to spell out what the dispute with Farkas is all about. He said, it's like everyone sees a wall as being purple, and there's one person who says it's actually red. Well, see, that's Psych 101, okay, which goes back to the white and black piece of paper. Now, Farkas is the one guy, it's like hypnotism. Not everyone can be hypnotized, okay? But the majority of the people, if you isolate them with propaganda, or as I used to say when I was quite young, if I take a piece of white paper and a piece of black paper and I say, what color is that? And you say white. And I say, what color is that? And you say black. And then I isolate you. And I continually tell you that the white piece is actually black and the black piece is actually white. Eventually, most of the people, at some point when you say, what color is that? They'll say it's black even though it's white. Okay? That's what the propaganda does. So this counselor who's going on, he says, if everyone is sees a wall as being purple, in other words, they're seeing the wall as white when it's actually black. And then he goes on, and one person, Farkas, actually sees red. Okay? Farkas has got his colors together. Farkas hasn't been hypnotized by the propaganda. Okay? Farkas can't be hypnotized by the propaganda. Now, these are the kind of people we need to run at the local level. Okay? For this, he said, like, this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And I don't know what all this purple's about. It has something to do with the New World Order. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay, the mayor of Calgary is a Mali Muslim, and the guy in charge of all the Muslims here in Canada, basically, the Aga Khan, is a Mali Muslim. Okay, and he's only 4 minutes from Parliament Hill, I think it is, or 4 minutes. I think it's, what is it? 4-minute drive to the Prime Minister's house. Okay, and it was the Conservatives that put the Aga Khan in place, not the Liberals. Okay, this right-left garbage paradigm has got to get put aside. It was there. It was put there to divide and conquer, and it does a marvelous job. But you got to get over that. But this here particular statement, he says it's like everyone sees a wall as being purple. Okay, it's the same thing as everyone sees climate change is a problem. Everyone thinks man caused it. Well, there's a certain faction of people can actually think. And they know it's a fraud. And I imagine Farkas is one of those people. You know, we have to open our borders to be multiculturalism. Well, the council, most of the council sees that as the correct thing because they've been hypnotized. Farkas knows better. But Farkas can't make any changes because he's got a bunch of hypnotized idiots sitting at the council table, pushing sustainability and carbon taxes, and all of it is fictional. It's no different than the hypnotism standing in a crowd of people at a concert hall somewhere, taking the front row and tell them that they're actually chickens and they should dance around and squawk, and damn it if they don't get up and dance around and squawk. But there's always the odd one in that bunch that can't be hypnotized. And in this case, in Calgary, Farkas seems to be the guy. And I'm going to try and get him on the show, so he can explain to you crazy buggers out there that just like to whine and bitch and complain that it's time to get up off your sorry asses, participate. Councillor Farkas doesn't grasp any of what anybody has said Sutherland. Okay, so I'm not sure what he's going to grasp or when or if he will. He's already grasped it. He's grasped the truth. It's the rest of you councillors, i.e. Sutherland, and the rest of you jackasses that have succumbed to the propaganda. You know, it's the what's it called here? It's called the Federation of Municipalities, the Canadian Federation of Municipalities. And when you're voted for a mayor, we have the documents. It's on a computer here somewhere. That once the mayor, okay, because the mayor is the main mouthpiece, but the mayor only has one vote. The mayor does, okay? The mayor is selected so that he can work with the city managers, the CAO, and the two of them could sit in the office and plot how they're going to move this shit through the councils. But once the mayor here, this was from way back in, I don't know when it was, 89 or somewhere like that, when they were bringing Agenda 21. Because Agenda 21, although it wasn't brought into the country till 92, Hamilton, Ontario, as a matter, we have documents that they were already implementing Agenda 21 in 1989, okay, which is 2 years after the Grove-Brundtland report. Our communist future was released, which is a prelude to Agenda 21. So the mayors are taken down to the Federation of Municipalities. This is when they started to really push climate change. And they're sent there specifically to get them to believe that climate change is man-caused. And it says in that document, once we've convinced the mayors that climate change is real, even though it's not, then we will control them with the, what do they call it, the stick and whatever, right? Do as you say, you'll get your grants in that. Don't do as you're told, and we're going to take a stick and beat you in the ground. Okay? And that's how this whole thing operates. So, the people reading this thing will be saying, Farkas comes up with good stuff. Yeah, but look at, he's being really a problem, and we should just, kind of back off a little bit. No, you keep coming forward as hard as you possibly can. But Sutherland is sure of one thing. Unless things change, the circle of conflict is going to continue for the next 4 years, and it's very sad. No, nothing sad about it. Bring the conflict on. Okay? This you have to prepare. You got 1 million plus people. Go find 90. You got basically 4 years yet till the next election, 4.5 years. No, it's almost 4 years till the next election. You have 4 years to get 90 people on board and school them and teach them so they're prepared when the next election comes forward. So now you're guaranteed the majority vote. Now we do that in every council across this nation. Guess who's got the power? The people. The people now have the power. The problem is, even in the city of Calgary or even some little town, you get the majority vote and you're the lone council bucking against the state or the province. I don't know. It's like stateside. It's probably the same thing because it's all comes out of this. All these rules and regulations come out of the same place. But they have the power to yank that council. Okay, the councils are a creation of the state and do as the state says to do. So if you have a liberal government, you got a liberal council. If you've got a conservative state or provincial government, that's what your council is. Okay? But if we could get 30, that would be the proper start point, 30 municipal councils where real, knowledgeable, intelligent people who give a damn about their nation and give a damn about the future of their offspring get majority vote. If 30 councils in any province were controlled through the vote by the people who get it, the province has got its hands tied. There's no way that any province could possibly justify ripping 30 councils out and replacing them. I mean, that really brings the lid off Pandora's box if they ever attempted to do that kind of thing. But if there's one lone council, just like one lone Farkas, the media will spin it, and they will because they have the power to pull the council, and they have the power to institute whoever the fuck they, oh, excuse my language, whoever they want. So this whole idea of you electing your council, it doesn't matter because you ain't in charge of them. You can't tell them what to do. They're taking their orders from outside. So you might as well call them foreign insurgents in your own local district because they don't represent you in any way, shape, or form. Now, Farkas is trying to represent the people, but he's getting a bit of a hard time because he's alone. The source of the friction isn't a schism between the left and the right. It seems to be the difference between right and wrong. Bingo. But whether you're Farkas or the rest of the council, both sides in this standoff think they are right and the other side is wrong. Right. But the majority of the councillors have been stroked. They've had their egos stroked. They've been made feel important. They fell for the propaganda. They believe global warming is wrong or is right. They believe that vaccinations is right. They believe that the fluoride that they got out of the Calgary water should be put back in because that's right. They believe everything that is wrong is right, which takes right back to what color is that piece of paper. They've been convinced that white is black and black is white. They've been convinced that wrong is right and right is wrong, which leaves Farkas as the odd man out because he knows white is white and black is black. He knows right from wrong. He didn't get suckered by the propaganda. So again, this is all spin. Councillor Sean Chu is another self-described fiscal conservative and has also been a divisive figure at times. He's not too fussed about the turmoil around Farkas. We're politicians. Now this is really sick. This is we're politicians. This is, I don't know what he is, Chinese, Japanese. This counselor. We're politicians. We're peacocking all the time. That's what we do, said Chu. We have to let people know who we are. Chu adds that no one should be surprised by what Farkas is choosing for his priorities. He said before the election what he'd do and he's doing it. Do I like it? Says Chu. No. But he's doing what he said he would do. And Farkas is not backing down. At council's behest, Mayor Nahid Nenshi, who is a Ismaili Muslim, running the city of Calgary, of where I used to live and work many years ago. I don't believe that if I went to Calgary today, I would even recognize the place. Not from what I'm hearing coming out of Calgary anyways. So Nenshi recently ordered him to apologize, Farkas, during a meeting for disparaging the entire group on social media. So Farkas gets on social media, don't know what he said, but he probably said this whole thing is a crooked, nefarious, globalistic plan to screw you over. I don't know what he said, but probably somewhere in there, or something very subtle that this council couldn't even handle on social media. After what seemed like an agonizing 48 seconds of silence following the mayor's request, Farkas said no apology would be forthcoming. Okay? Now there's a man who gets it. Now, if we just had 60 or 90 other men and women with Farkas's backbone, then I will guarantee you will have majority vote. Now, I've been saying for a long time that the people of my nation suffer from a debilitating disease. It's called, you got a weak spirit, you got a weak mind, and you got a weak spine. All of those things are easily manipulated. Now here come Farkas with a strong spirit, a strong mind, and a strong spine. He is what your forefathers were when they came to these lands. They were of strong spirit, strong mind, and strong spine. We've become so freaking weak in all three of those realms, it is absolutely pathetic and sickening. And this is why we're in the position we are in now. And the only way to rectify this is to get a strong spirit, a strong mind, and a strong spine and stand up. You know, you got Nietzsche, who loves purple, telling Farkas to apologize. This is the mayor looking down, and it ain't coming. I ain't apologizing. Because he ain't got nothing to apologize about. Council then debated ejecting him from the meeting. Now, this has happened to my friend up in Northern Ontario as well. However, the motion was defeated primarily because councillors feared punting him was precisely what Farkas wanted and would only fuel the dispute. What a load of crap. What they're saying is that would fuel the dispute. No, if they kicked Farkas out, then that would get people to talk about it, to ask what the hell's going on at the council. That's why they defeated the motion, to keep it quiet. Well, several councillors say the actions are corrosive and don't bode well for team building. Farkas said, there are no hard feelings. I respect and admire every other member of council, including the mayor, said Farkas in an interview. Collectively, I see it's all part of the solution to be able to address this cultural issue. When asked if he has seen anything during the closed-door sessions he has attended, should not have been discussed privately, he couldn't come up with an example. Still, he has ideas on how to spend less time behind closed doors. Council can't reduce the number of personnel issues, land negotiation, or legal matters on its agendas, but he could do it a hell of a lot quicker. He suggests it can bring in furniture that's less comfortable, ban verbal briefings, and It should be a vote every 30 minutes on whether to stay in closed session. FARC suggests closed sessions be video recorded for future use, that audits be conducted on why certain items are off limits to the public, and allow council members to bring in their own legal counsel. Let's see. The relationship, Farkas' crafting with his colleague has meant there is little or to no support for these ideas. Some councilors question whether some are even legal. Okay, and that's the other problem. Okay, one of the groups of people that your forefathers didn't want anywhere near them, okay, or in their villages way back in the day, there was three groups of people: lawyers, Jews, and Catholics. And you can look at that three groups as the snakes, the weasels, and the foxes working their way into getting control of your house. Took them a long time to do it, but they've done it. And you've got to look at your municipality as your house. It's an extension of your house. The province is your house. The federal end is your house. The country is your house. But you don't control any of it. In other words, you have no control on anything that goes on in your house. Now, could you imagine in your particular home having no control over anything that goes on in your own house, the place you sleep at? Would you put up with that? If these people kept coming through your front door telling you, no, you can't eat this on a Thursday, and you can't do this, and you got to paint your front door purple, and yada yada, would you put up with that crap? I hope the hell not, but we're getting to the point now where you will. But that's your house. And you're allowing people to tell you what you can and can't do in your own house. A man's home is supposed to be his castle. Means he's got the right to protect. But yet we allow these foxes, weasels, and snakes to basically control every aspect of our lives, right down to what's going on in their own little castle. It's got to change. So if it don't change, it's going to get worse. Let's see here. He goes on to say here that council chamber is not a legislature. That's true. According to the feds, a municipal council or a municipal corporation, which has a council, the federal government does not recognize the municipal level as government. They refer to it as a type of business. And that's exactly what it is. You know, it's all the way back to the feudal system, you know, on early taxes. You got some people that are in charge of the whole area, and they job it out to smaller areas, i.e. the province, who jobs it out to smaller places, i.e. the counties, which jobs it out to smaller places called municipalities. And the guy at the Attorney General's office having a discussion with it, you know, he's the one that came out and said, you know, Ron, we never left the feudal system. No shit. That I already know. But you're spinning this stuff off that people think they're not in the feudal system. We're a democracy. Good luck with that. A political science at Mount Royal University, Laurie Williams, says a municipal council is not like a provincial legislature or the House of Commons. Of course not. It's just a body that does what is told by whatever party is in power at the time. Period. They implement the legislation that comes from whatever level of government. And they get the little trick there where they can pass bylaws, and all these laws and bylaws and policies and statutes are there just to collect your money. So it goes on to say it's more like a board of this the political scientist. And how do you attach science to politics? I mean, come on. I mean, that's how phony science is. Science is just another piece of manipulative hypnotism or propaganda machine. And it goes on to say here it's more like a board of directors for a large corporation with the job of doing what's best for the organization. Did you hear that? This is a political science, Mount Royal University. The municipal council, it's more like a board of directors for a large corporation with the job of doing what's best for that organization. And it ain't your organization. There are no political parties, no leader of the opposition. Two members who vote together on a motion that's on the table could very well be opposing each other on other yada, yada, yada. He's making accusations, this is about Farkas, and suggestions that are so extreme, so hyperbolic, that I think he's actually undermining his credibility rather than enhancing his profile publicly, says Williams, a political scientist. It's very difficult to work with people when you start out by insulting and lodging accusations. It means the political victories could be rare for the rookie counselor unless he can find a way to build support. The only way you're going to build support in a council like that is if you've got 7 other counselors on side, so you got majority vote in all matters. That's it. End of subject. That's the only way you can do it, and the only way that can be accomplished is if you get off your fat asses and step up to the plate. Otherwise, you're a spineless, mindless, pathetic chunk of meat. You're not a man, and you ain't a woman. Because a man or a woman would stand up for what's right. And it's time you do so. And that's my rant on municipal council. I think we're going to break here pretty soon. So I'm going to go. If I got to turn this on so I can hear when the break music kicks, because for some oddball reason I can't hear it. And should be around 58, I think. And then we'll come back, and we're going to talk about some history. And see if you can connect some of this history to what's going on at your local council. Okay? It's very simple to understand, folks. And the solution is extremely simple. It just means you got to get up off your butts. And you have to become involved. Okay, so I'm going to be back here in about 4 minutes or so. And if you got anything you want to say, you contact me. I'll drag you in the show, or you can call in. Studio B is 605-468-4705. So says the phone number. Or if I'm connected to you to Skype, send me a note and I'll drag you into the show, whatever. But just the way it is. So anyways, we'll be back in about 4 minutes. Wait, do this. Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat, and that's what we got to do. We got to rock the snot out of this particular boat we call our nation, if we intend our nation to survive. Anyways, freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio is listener supported, and it's so very important. I can't say it enough. It's so damn very important that we keep these networks running. So you won't have a hard time finding a donate button. So I ask you donate. Got to keep these small networks on the air. And it's going to be more difficult as we go forward to keep them on the air, because they're going to get hit. They haven't already been hit. A lot of stations have already gone down. So, and the other thing people need to do is they need to spread the message that these networks even exist. So, you know, I do shows both on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and UCY, and make some posters up, you know. Make some posters up. Put them. There's all kinds of places to put posters up. You know, put them up at the grocery store. Put them up at the laundromat. Put them up on the tack boards at the corner stores and that. You know, we got to wake people up. I've been waiting a long time for this. You know, I started this in the very early, probably 70, 71, when I started to ask some serious questions. All I was asking long before that, but when I started to really look into things. Back in the early 70s, it became very apparent very quickly that we got some real problems going on. And so we've given them so much time to get ahead of us. And now people go, oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it now. Well, you didn't do anything about it then, so you best do something about it now. Okay? Just because nothing was accomplished then doesn't mean we can't accomplish something now. It's all an attitude, folks. It's all attitude. So get your attitude straightened out, and away we go. So I got some fairly interesting stuff sent to me. I already know it, but you know, religion. The purpose of religion is the very same as the position of politics. It is both are used to divide and conquer. They work in unison. There wouldn't be politics without the religion. Wouldn't be. Yeah, I see a note here in the chat. You know, hope Jeremy Farkas is listening to this, listening to Ron, and I will post. I'm going to try and get a hold of Jeremy and see if we can have a chat, because I'd really like to. There's a guy I'd really like to get on the show. There's an actual man that gets it. And I would like to have him on the show so he can encourage the rest of you to get it. So that, you know, this is not going to be won by gunfire, okay? You know, it is a war. Make no mistake, it's a psychological, spiritual war. And those are the only tools we need to bring forward to beat them back. That's it. That's how they're pounding us in the ground. That's how we take back our nation. And it can be done. Make no mistake about it. It can and must be done. Anyways, where was I here? There was another story here that I wanted to discuss briefly. If I can dig it out. Where did it go? Let's see. There was a story here I saw someplace that caught my attention this morning. I don't know why my computer gets so draggy when I'm doing these shows, man. Now here's some more of your money being spent in the most stupid fashion. Environment Canada launches a website. I'd like to see how much they spent on it. You know, they could have had somebody use WordPress or Wix or one of these outfits that are basically 100% free, and it costs you like $10 to put up your .com.ca thing, and it would take someone with rudimentary skills to build a pretty impressive website pretty quick. But I'm sure the government probably spent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to some buddy of theirs to crack up this website. Anyways, Environment Canada launches website to hear the public's ideas for marine litter reduction. Now there's something I'd jump right on real quick. I don't know where. Have they got the website? Maybe I can go to the website for a minute. Well, Environment and Climate Change Canada announced a new website for public dialogue on reducing marine litter. Local environmental groups are wondering why Canada isn't seeing more concrete changes. Duh. I got to go here and see if there's such a thing as this website. If there's a link to this thing. I mean, things are so out of whack. They say we have to move beyond websites and beach cleanups, says Mark Butler. The federal government has launched a new website to hear Canadians' ideas on how to reduce marine litter, but an environmental group in Nova Scotia wants to know why Canada isn't adopting more concrete changes. Environment and Climate Change Canada Minister Catherine, I ain't got a half a brain, McKenna, was in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia on Sunday for the announcement of the website. She was also there to take part in a beach cleanup initiative for Earth Day. People can share their ideas for sustainable design and production that would reduce waste and collection and management to improve how plastics are collected and managed after use. I want to hear from all of you, whether it's from the kids over here, from the community groups, just Canadians. McKenna said to the crowd, what are your ideas to help us tackle plastics, marine litter, waste? What can we do better? McKenna said she will be publishing everything we get and then looking at how to move forward. Now, this is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change saying, we don't have a sweet bejesus clue how to do anything. So could you wonderful folks of Canada, the ones that we're handing over to a world government, the ones that are going to reduce your water and energy uses by upwards of 75%, could you please call or leave us a note to explain to us how we might do something better? Because we're clueless here at the federal level. It's exactly what she just said. But people won't read it that way. Oh, isn't this great? We get to put our input in. Isn't it wonderful? Oh, my goodness. I saw a plastic straw in the street the other day. We should ban plastic straws. When I talk about weak minds, man, I'm talking about the general public. But Mark Butler with the Ecology Action Center said he was hoping for more from Sunday's announcement. Now, I like this Ecology Action Center because I do have a book somewhere on my blog, I think, and on Facebook, that it explains exactly what they had to do. They had to kill God way back when, because as long as God existed in the minds of the people, they couldn't move ecology forward. Because as long as God is in the minds of the people, they worship the Creator. But we need them to worship the creation so we can manipulate the snot out of them. So we're going to get rid of God. Nietzsche was a big part of that. Philosopher, died mentally ill, as a whole lot of philosophers do. But yet we listen to these mentally ill people for some reason. We don't, but we're told to, because it helps move the agendas forward. So the idea was to replace the priests with the scientists, so that you couldn't dissent against what the priest said, and now you can't dissent against what the scientists said. The scientists have replaced the priest, and ecology has replaced the Creator. Simple as that. So Butler says he wants to see bans on single-use plastics. That's the globalist talking. He doesn't want to see anything. He just wants to propagate what he's told to propagate, as well as a program that holds manufacturers who make the plastic responsible for recycling it. That drives change and drives reduction, he said. McKenna also asked by reporters about the impact of this weekend's announcement granting BP Canada approval to begin drilling one deep water exploration well about 300 kilometers off the coast of Nova Scotia. McKenna said, right now it's only for exploration and there are strict conditions on what the company can do. We care greatly about the oceans. We need to be making sure that nothing happens, and we're certainly committed to that. But you're stupid, because you just said earlier that you want everybody to write and tell you what to do. So you just admitted you're an idiot. But let's go drill a hole out there, 300K off the coast, to see if we can find some fossil fuels that, well, we don't want you to use. Well, that makes no sense. But then McKenna makes no sense, nor does Environment and Climate Change Ministry make any sense. So let me see here. I don't see a link. I don't see a link anywhere here to their so-called website, which is kind of odd. Related stories: Canada's G7 anti-plastics push would fare better with federal policies, professor says. Canada used G7 presidency to push environmental zero plastics waste charter. Now, that was going to cost you a lot more money, and it's going to accomplish absolutely nothing. Anyways, I'm going to buzz through a video that was sent to me. Have I still got that thing up somewhere? Let me see. There's a video here of a couple of people talking about, it was sent to me, about the Puritans and the hippie movement is the name of the video. So you can look that up, Puritans and the hippie movement. And because I've studied the religion way, way back, and they make some good points. And it's, again, all about manipulation. And it's basically the same thing that our forefathers didn't want to have anything to do when they came here. The religion we used to manipulate, and then politics took it over after that. But there's some interesting stuff in there. One of them is, I forgot the name of that damn thing now. anyways, you have to listen to the video. But there are some good points in there, because when you go back and you start drawing or putting, dots on the page as you go through this stuff, and then you can draw yourself a picture, which is basically what these people did. Most researchers already know all of this stuff. It's any good at all, but it's a good thing for the general public to listen to. I'm not real big on the presentation, but it'll give you a start point to where to go look. Hopefully it gets you to ask yourself some questions, and then you go and do some research. That's what it's all about. Ask a question, go find an answer. And then you'll find you got more questions and need more answers. That's how you become a good researcher. Not difficult. And what you find along this trip that you will go on will open your eyes. And you will be appalled by what you see, i.e. the truth. And until you have a good grasp of the truth, you can't move forward. You can't make any changes because you don't know what the problem is. So it's very important that you do some research. It's not difficult today. I mean, it's very simple today. The documents are all presented to you. All you got to do is read them. The information is there. Read it. Get your kids to read it. Make it into a game between you and your kids. Get a question. And whoever answers the question first, right? Whoever digs out the right information first gets a prize. Some little prize. Not a McDonald's Happy Meal. Don't go there. But some little prize. And it will be good. And then you will have yourself a family of very good researchers who are always looking for answers. Now, did I close out what I'm looking for here? What have I got? Oh, okay. This particular video here, I didn't watch it all, but they have some pictures in it. I didn't have time to watch it all, but it's only 19-minute video, which is not bad. And Duck sent it to me. And so again, if you're a researcher of anything, you already know all this stuff, but you got to get this stuff out to the other people. So this is a Kalergi nonsense. I think he was Japanese, but let me see if I can read some of this. Count Richard von, I can't see the word. Kalergi, founder and president of the Pan-European Union, the original EU, said this in his 1925 book. Okay, so the 20s are really quite an important time. It's a very important time, actually. But then you can go back, to the 1800s, 1700s is also a very important time. But this is a little more, recent. So what this guy says is, and this is important for people to understand, you can't say anything about your nation without being jumped on by these mindless fools. Oh, you're a Nazi. Oh my God, look, it's one of those white supremacists. And then everybody jumps on your case. You got to learn when they do that, just smile at them and ask them how long they've been as stupid as they appear to be this moment. That ought to throw them. They're not bright people. Anyways, it says here, the man of the future will be of mixed race. The Eurasian Negroid race of the future will replace the diversity of peoples Russian Bolshevism constitutes a decisive step towards this purpose, where a small group of communist spiritual aristocrats govern the country. The general staff of both are recruited from Europe, spiritual leader race, the Jews. From the European quantity people, the mass, two quality races rise up: blood aristocracy and Jewry. Both believe in their higher mission of their better blood. The spiritual of their spirit predestines them to become a main factor of the future nobility. Now, they are trying to build two things: a world government and a world religion. And the religion that, or the faith, I don't like the word religion, the faith that your forefathers brought with them had to be eradicated because it was solid and it would stand in the way of these long-term plans. And ever since, in particular 1962, the Vatican II, and it happened long before that. I mean, they had Billy Graham up there running around, you know, pushing the Judeo-Christian society or faith, which is a complete fraud, and people ate it up. And people, you know, started to look to Israel. And you know, if you said anything about Israel, well, look out. Well, Israel's all part of the plan. So that's what this guy said. And this movie, I might just throw this into the chat. I'm just going to buzz through some of what was said in here. I'm not going to play it or anything. This is written, this guy lived till from, 1821 to 1881. I can't read his name in here. But this is just some of the video. How would it be if in Russia, there were not 3 million Jews, but 3 million Russians, and there were 80 million Jews? How would they treat them? Would they permit them to acquire equal rights? Would they permit them to worship freely in their midst? Wouldn't they instead convert them into slaves? Worse than that, wouldn't they skin them altogether? Wouldn't they slaughter the Russians down to the last man, to the point of complete extermination, as they used to do with alien peoples in ancient times during their ancient history? You're not going to hear too much good about the Jews, and why is, where did anti-Semitism come from? Well, they don't want you talking about the Jews, so if you talk about the Jews in any questionable way, then they can nail you with anti-Semitism, and it's exactly what they're doing with Islam today. There is a Judeophobia, which came way before Islamophobia. They're both Semitic peoples, Semitic tribes, and they're on the same track, and they're working together. So this is why they come up with these, anti-Semitism is really just Judeophobia, as is Islamophobia. You can't say anything. Okay, so this is Breck Chisholm, director of the UN Health Organization, 1971, says, to achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogmas. Okay, this is what's required to get what they want. Let's see. So we have, he talks about the Jewish bankers a little bit in this video. What else we got here? Okay, who is this? Professor Noel Ignatieff, Harvard Magazine, October 2002. So, this started back in 25. This is 202, this particular piece that's being said by a professor. The goal of abolishing the white race is, on its face, so desirable that some may find it hard to believe that it could incur any opposition other than from committed white supremacists. Make no mistake about it, he says. We intend to keep bashing the dead white males and the live ones, and the females too, until the social construct known as the white race is destroyed. So we are at war. We've been at war. Problem is, most people didn't know we're involved in a war that's taking place right in front of our freaking noses. And that war is a spiritual, psychological war. This war we can actually win. And why we're in such a good position is they can't bomb us. Oh, they can set off some terrorism and stuff like that, but they can't come in and invade us with an army because you can't sell it. You can't justify it. You can't spin it. So we're pretty safe that way. So it's a mind game, spiritual, psychological war. And there's no reason whatsoever we can't win it unless we decide we don't want to win it. So if they take us down the way they want to, whose fault is it? Theirs? Not a chance. Ours. It's our fault. It's our fault. We, not them, are the guilty party because we allowed it. That makes us the guilty party. If I'm walking down the street and I see some guy beating on his girlfriend and I'll go over him and say, hey, smart ass, what the hell do you think you're doing? Don't hit a woman. And I don't care what you tell me. She may be the most miserable woman on the planet. That still does not justify what you're doing. You have to become involved. Because if you can walk down the street and walk past some guy beating on his woman and do nothing about it, then you're spiritually dead, you've got a jelly spine, and your mind is not there. And this is the same thing now. What's that?
Helen.
Who?
Helen wants him.
Oh, Helen wants to come and talk? Good. Let me just finish this up and we'll get Helen in here. Yeah, we got a half an hour left. That'll be fine. Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural, and I think we are going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be in monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. The Jews are going to be part of that, be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role in it. But without that leading role and without the transformation, Europe will not survive. Bull crap. Bull crap. The idea is that Europe ain't going to survive because of the plans. So anyways, this guy does a pretty good talk, actually. When did this got put up in, it only got 497 views, so it must be pretty good because it doesn't get a lot of airplay. So let me, where are we here? Let me stick this particular video in the chats. And you guys can listen to it. Most of the people in the chat, I would think, already know all of this stuff, but the idea is to pass it around. so other people get it. That's the whole point. Now, where are we here? We'll go down here. And work. Okay, let me go find Helen. And Helen's pretty sparky. Where is she hiding at? Let I go find her. You know, Calgary really, there's a lot of stupid stuff going on in Calgary. There's a lot of huge deception going on in Calgary. But at the same token, there are some very solid people in Calgary that I've got hooked up with, and I'm proud to know them. I'm proud that they're standing up, because if you don't stand up, you're, well, no good to anybody, are you? So we'll see if we can't get Helen in here, and I'm sure she has quite a bit to say, and that will be fine with me. Hello, Helen. How are you, my dear?
I'm awesome, and you? I want to get my last name out because I think most people know it anyway. I have lots of Facebook friends from all over the world, and I also have changed my Facebook. I'm going to go try Me You now, or Me We, and try and see, because it doesn't offer a third-party Zuckerberg control fascist communist agenda.
Well, I was going to join Me We too, or We Me, whatever the hell it's called, until I found out it was run by Jews as well.
Perhaps, I don't know.
So, it is. So, but yeah, but I was going to join up to it, and I found it was run by Jews. So it's just like they set up a catch for those who are leaving Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it's all that controlled opposition crap. But, you know, I haven't used it myself yet, but there are more and more replacements coming up. The only problem is, it's like YouTube, right? When I got hammered on YouTube, I went looking for somewhere else. And what happened is, like, Vimeo is much better as far as I'm concerned at YouTube, but very few people go there, comparatively speaking to what YouTube is, right? So you have these two deals. You have these two monsters, YouTube and Facebook, where this is where people go. And my concern with these other outfits is that, okay, so they're moving the people that know what's going on. They're moving the people that Facebook keeps throwing in jail every week, who get fed up, and they're going to go somewhere else. But the majority of those that you're trying to reach to get some information, useful information to, are where? On Facebook.
Facebook.
The ones that move away are the ones that have the knowledge. So now you have a new kind of Facebook full of people who are all like-minded, who are all knowledgeable, but you know, the masses are still over at Facebook.
Right.
So my thought process is, you know, keep your Facebook, and probably open up another account at wherever it is you want to open it up at.
And as far as videos go, I understand there's BitChute and there's BitTubes. Is that right?
Yeah, I haven't looked at any of those for a long time. I remember when people were, I remember how irritated I was at YouTube for a while because they wouldn't let me put up a video over such a length. It was a pain in the butt. It was all working good till, I don't know, I irritated somebody with something I put there, and then they come down on you. And I went to look at some of the other ones, and it looked almost like the same thing was going on, right? Like you're moving the knowledge over to a place where everybody's knowledgeable, right? So you kind of. I mean, on the other hand, if you look at it from the other side, you know, if you're into a site where the people are knowledgeable, And I don't know how many plants are in there trying to, grab the new ones that just come into these other sites and try to steer them wrong. But the whole thing's a real, snake pit.
It's all like controlled by CRTC or something. The same control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh. I had to leave and then I'm driving not very far, and I said, there's no way I'm going to feel guilty, but it's my responsibility, especially when you're talking about our country, and in particular my city, which is Calgary. Has been here for many, many decades. I feel that I should have come. You didn't get any phone calls, so I feel that I should go back home, which I did, and that's why I called you, Ron. But looking at the councillors, and of the city of Calgary, and I spent a long time there every Monday for a couple of years there, and at the Calgary Board of Education, I was known as a permanent fixture. I look at the city councillors, and I see Guylaine Carlo Cara of Ward 9. I don't know how he ever got in, even from the beginning. He is nothing but a friggin' communist and a very connected to the University of Calgary.
But that's why they get in.
And then we see Shane Keating. He was an ex-principal. And then, which I have no respect for the education system whatsoever. And I was a teacher for 15 years, and out of the 15 years of teaching, only one principal had the integrity and the morality and the spine, mind, and body to stand up and say, Helen, go and show other teachers how you teach, because it's a unique style. And I just preferred to stay in my own classroom, even though Maureen Borbridge, her husband was the chief head of the Calgary Police Department. I chose not to go back into her classroom and show her because, she was another adult. I don't have to show. They should be teaching you how to teach properly at the university. So why should I have to show somebody how to teach? And then we have Diane Colley-Urquhart. She's Jewish, and she's been I think she's been in something like 20 years in city council.
Yeah.
She should be gone a long time ago. And then, who else? Lots of new ones here Evan Woolley, another one that maybe the third term or fourth term in. He's pretty well communist as well. And yes, Drew Farrell, as much as I don't care for her that much, she did help get out fluoridation out of the water in Calgary. And Peter DeMong, he's Roman Catholic, and he just plays the game.
Boy, that sounds like a real cesspool of a council.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
in my little town, I have an adjunct professor from Simon Fraser University in a little town in Ontario. And none of these people can even look at me. And, I run into her at the local variety store. And, she sees me and she gets real quiet. And I say, how's your Marxist agenda going today? And they bows their heads, right, and just run out of there, right? Because they know, right? And this is the whole thing, they're not getting any pressure. But this Farkas guy, I'm real interested. You know anything about him?
Well, I've posted him and I watched him, and I've watched him a fair amount. I was critical on him on something, I can't remember what, and I challenged him, and he's turning out to be a very strong lad, which I believe he's always wanted to be, and I believe also he follows my Facebook, and I did post his article. He follows me a fair amount. So does an awful lot of journalists, it seems.
Well, yeah, I have a lot of journalists. I have a lot of politicians. I have a lot of religious people, like higher up people. Who I'm connected with on Facebook. It's it's so bad to me. I'll do this really quick. the Toronto Sun. You got the Calgary Sun, same chain. Years ago, like Laurie Goldstein was the editor, who's a Jew, so I wrote to one of the head journalists there, and he'd been around for a long, long time. And I was talking about this renewable energy nonsense and that, and I sent a bunch of documents. And he wrote me back and said, this has to be exposed. And so I wait, and nothing happens. So I write him back or call him or whatever. And, I get I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore. Nonsense,
They
right?
act like children.
If you think media is in any way, shape, or form legitimate, forget about it.
Oh no, as far as media goes, I met lots of media, especially in the courts, where I observed the corrupt system as well. And they all like me as a person, but if they want to keep their jobs, they dare not sometimes even say hello to me.
Well, this is the thing. Like a lot of the journalists that I've known for a long time, a lot of them have a great deal of respect for me, and we can talk, off to the side or something. But if it's in some sort of a group or something going on, they ain't come near me with a 10-foot pole. They like what I have to say, and they wish they could say it. But like you said, they know that if they say it, they ain't got a job anymore. Right. So this is what holds everybody back, is the fear of being unemployed. Right. I mean, there's an awful lot of people in this country that have a pretty good idea of something badass wrong's going on, but they keep turning away from it. Instead of looking at it, they keep turning away from it because they're afraid it's going to cause them problems. Right.
That's right.
And we got to get over that. The
big issue is trust, and we're not educated to trust. And we are, in addition to trust, we don't have the self-confidence to be able to trust, because they kick that out of us, and that's how come we become spineless, mindless, and bodiless. Yeah. And we don't connect to our bodies. We rather stay in our heads, where you get no great understanding or awareness of any sort. In fact, what happens is you spiral down into disease and sickness with the current education system.
I made a joke to somebody a week or two ago. I said, I quit school. I think went into grade 11. I didn't want to be that stupid, and that's all I saw by continuing my education. I just, they're just going to try and dumb me down. I don't want to go there. But I thought, maybe I'll go to the local high school, because they wouldn't let me teach a night course. That bothered them, and so I thought maybe I should go and enroll as an adult student in the classroom. I think I could have a gutload of fun. With that
is fun, Ron, because I did the same thing at university when I was getting my M.Ed. What they did is I got to my M.Ed. They could see that I was influencing the younger students and modeling how we should question how their logic was irrelevant, and what they were giving us to study was nothing but propaganda. And in the last 3 courses, in order for me to get my M.Ed., which I thought I should get, because if I was challenging the system, they always like letters after your name. But as long as you have letters after your name and you have morality and character, that's okay. But 99% of them have no character nor any morality. So I finished the last 3 courses at home.
Yeah, well, that's. I talked to some students even here in my town who were asked to leave, not because they were throwing chalk, but because they were influencing the thought processes of the other students. and asking legitimate questions, looking for legitimate answers, and that was causing a problem for the administrators. So they were asked to leave school so as not to disrupt the class by asking pertinent questions, and to please go and take a correspondence course. And that's in my own little town, which is only like 7,500 people. I've talked to several students like that. You know, it's that's the isolation thing I talk about, right? You isolate, and then you propagandize or hypnotize, and anybody that you can't hypnotize, you ask to leave.
Well, I was placed in my last classroom that I taught in the last year. I was told before I started, they had already had all the things in motion because this particular principal was known to us people. Anyway, I was told I was red flagged. I was put into room 1, which was away from the other students I was teaching and other teachers I was with, like in grade 4 that I think they had a 3-4 split or a 4 split, and I wasn't allowed to be close to them. They didn't quite understand what was going on. And then this very principal became the chief superintendent. Then I met somebody, and he says, look, there's a school board meeting next Tuesday. If you want to be there, I will be there for you. And he's been my mentor, and he was also a mentor for, he was down in the city of Calgary for many, many years. And he tried to change and bring things. You know, these are people that must be remembered. Maybe we didn't make exactly fundamental changes, but we definitely rocked the boat somewhat and changed the norm, or changed the status quo, or helped to, certainly.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that anybody can do is especially with students is to get them to, ask legitimate questions and expect I mean, I told this group of 14-year-olds one time, I was out at this farm selling some advertising for a magazine I was working on, and there was a bunch of young guys there, 14 years old, and the parents there were just, I mean, they were completely pissed at the school board. They would go to the school board with legitimate concerns, be treated like children, and put down and told to go away. We know what we're doing, you don't. But when I was talking to the kids, I said, well, they were having a problem with questions. They just sit there and shut up. And I said, well, ask a legitimate question. Your teacher won't answer it, but then you sit down, right, and then have your fellow students stand up and ask the same question, right? Don't get in an argument with the teacher. Just keep asking the question, right? Until either the teacher's head explodes or they answer the question.
Yeah.
Because if you're the only one in the class asking legitimate questions, you're going to get centered out.
Yes.
So you need a group of students asking legitimate questions so that they can't point the finger at one individual. It's the same thing as I talk about why everybody needs to run for these local elections, because that story of Farkas, says for him to get anything accomplished, he needs 7 other councillors on side. Mm-hmm. Well, there's only him on side. Same thing happened to my buddy up north. He's suffering hellish because,
question everything. Intelligent radio for intelligent people. UCY.TV.
UCY.TV, 7 o'clock. Right now, I'm going to go outside.